I get so agitated when people complain that there aren't any good films released in January. I've had 2 Januaries in a row where I run this channel where there have been some good to amazing films released. Last year was The Last Showgirl and Companion, and this year has today's movie I'm reviewing, which is Father, Mother, Sister, Brother. And do not expect me to say that tongue twister too many more times in this video. There is no way I can do a plot description for this picture because it doesn't really have a plot in a traditional sense. I will try and describe it to you from the perspective of when I arrived in the movie theater and what I thought while I was watching it. I don't watch trailers for films. I may do a video on this someday, but after I saw the trailer for Revenge of the Sith and The Dark Knight, and those trailers gave away everything that those movies had, I had my Popeye moment, where I stand all I can stands and I can't stands no more. I have a website that I use that tells me every movie that's being released that week. I check the local theaters in my city to see which ones will be playing around me, and I go see the ones I can. So while I know this picture was released at Christmas time, it wasn't released to the lowly commoners of Mountain Standard Time until this past weekend. So I had no idea what this picture was, what it was about, or who directed it. As the film started, we see a brother and a sister taking a car ride and informing us and each other that they are going to see their elderly father, who is recently a widow. They talk about things that irk them about their dad and some typical familial gossiping. We then get about 30 to 35 minutes of the two siblings and their father sitting, having water, tea, and having some of the most icebreaker conversation you can imagine. They're talking about mundane stuff, including Adam Driver's character wondering if you are allowed to do a toast with water or tea or not. This stuff is really funny, but in a realistic way. We even get a moment of pure hilarity that I think any family member can relate to, where the daughter asks her dad about any drugs he may be on, and the father begins to list the drugs he is not taking, and I couldn't stop laughing and smiling at how real all of it felt. The second part of the film drops us in on a mother and her two daughters, one played by Cate Blanchett. The sisters are polar opposites of each other, at least on a presentation level, maybe even a personality level as well. But they are meeting their mom for some kind of annual meetup. Why only annual? We aren't really told why, but based on the conversations that take place between these three, I can see the reasoning behind it. And it was about midway through this second segment where I started asking myself a few questions. I said to myself, this film is giving me so many vibes of the film Night on Earth. That film is nothing but a series of taxi rides that take place over the course of one night in various areas of the world. But then I also was getting vibes of one of my favorite films of the 2000s, and that was Broken Flowers. So I quickly whipped out my phone because I had to know who made this film. Don't worry, no one was sitting around me. There was only 4 people in my theater, and I was way in the back. And I found out this film was written and directed by Jim Jarmusch, the same man who made those films I thought of. I had no idea about this going in, but then it started to make sense to me based on how this picture is designed. And I got so excited that I was watching a new movie from such a great filmmaker, and I fully escaped into his magic. I'm going to put this out there right now. If I had seen this film last year when it was released to the coastal elitist flood, I would have put this #1 on my top 10 films of 2025. It's that goddamn good. So after realizing what I was watching and who the artist was behind it, I enjoyed everything else I saw from that point on, but knowing how Jarmusch works as an artist, I knew I wouldn't get all the things in this film the first time out. So what did I do? I went back the next night and saw it a second time. And this time I got into the mood of all the people, but also everything that is surrounding them. So, the best way I can describe this film is you can either view it as 3 short stories, or 3 that are happening concurrently with each other. Either way you view it, it is 3 different stories about 3 different groups of people that have no relation to each other. This is a movie about families and how we tell the stories of our families. We build up these ideas in our head of how someone we love is, but it may not be full reality as seen in the first story. Sometimes they are worse than what we tell ourselves, as seen in the second story. And sometimes they are just a cloud of memories that we're just trying our best to sort through, as seen in the third story. All 3 have some connective tissues of sorts to them, but nothing that is narrative related. It's all thematic. There's a running theme about skateboarders. In each story, we see a group of skaters just doing their thing. They aren't bothering anyone, they're not sinister or anything like that. They're just living the skate life. So I still haven't picked up what that is all about after 2 viewings, but I will hopefully after my 7th or 8th. I'm being a little sarcastic with that number. There is also a running line different characters say in the story. It's kind of like how someone in every Star Wars movie says, I have a bad feeling about this. There are a number of things like that which interlock the stories but never come out and tell you what they are. The thing that makes this film so amazing to me is the same thing I said in my review of The Last Showgirl and The Dead Thing from last year. I felt like I was dropped into the life of a group of people with no build-up, no backstory, no rooting interest. I was merely teleported to 3 different sets of lives and was asked to just watch them for about 30 minutes each, and then disappear like they were a shadow in the wind. Those are the kind of movies that really touch my heart the most. Horror may be my favorite genre of film, but slice of life pictures like this, where we are in and out, are the ones that warm my heart and soul more than any I can possibly describe. The third story involves a twin brother and sister who are reminiscing over their parents, who they just lost. Most of this part takes place in their parents' home, where the brother has begun packing up everything that belonged to their parents, and the siblings just sit there and talk. There was a great film called Boys on the Side starring Drew Barrymore and Whoopi Goldberg. And one of the best shots in that picture is right at the end, when the camera tracks along an empty house for like 90 seconds. But if you watch that film, it wasn't empty just a little bit ago. It was filled with all this life and energy. That's how this third story made me feel. I never met these siblings' parents, but based on the way the film is beautifully shot and just enough story is given to us that we can paint an image in our heads, I began visualizing what had been there before my eyes arrived to that location, and my imagination just took over. Even with films that I love that I have reviewed on this channel, I usually have one or two things that I nitpick about before I tell you it's a great movie. But I'm not doing that this time because fuck that. Life is flawed, people are flawed, memories are especially flawed. But that doesn't mean that there are flaws that take away from the enjoyment of a picture like this. It's just real life, man. And it is a surrealistic experience that I'm sure won't be for everyone because it really isn't about anything in a traditional plot kind of way. But if you're looking for a feeling of families, saints and sinners, and true to life humor and dialogue, then boy do I have a movie for you to watch. I want to retroactively redo my top 10 list from a couple of weeks ago and put this at number 1 ahead of Eddington, but I will behave and just say that this movie is worth everyone's time if you are in the mood for a meditative picture that is lifelike, but is lifelike in a way that makes your heart just warm. Bob's your uncle. I give father, mother, sister, brother a huge hug and 4 stars out of 4. Jim Jarmusch has made some of the best meditative and true to life films I've seen in the last few decades, and man oh man, he delivers here again. This is such a brilliant movie, and I hope anyone who doesn't mind thinking will go out and see this modern masterpiece. And that is my review. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.